So let's talk about Jean-Jacques Rousseau's social contract. This is, without a doubt, one of the most influential and honestly explosive works of political philosophy ever put to paper. It kicks off with this incredible bombshell statement and then asks a question that, we're still trying to figure out today.
Right there, that's the famous first line. And it's a huge paradox, right? Think about it. If we're all born free, how on earth did we all end up bound by rules, laws, and all these power structures? For Rousseau, this wasn't just some casual observation. It was a problem. And the question he's really asking is, can these chains, can they ever actually be legitimate?
And that really gets to the heart of his entire book. How can we be governed but still be free? How can the authority of the state and the liberty of each one of us actually coexist? Rousseau thought he had the answer. And, well, that answer would go on to totally reshape modern politics.
All right, so to solve this puzzle, Rousseau first has to tear down a few really common but pretty dangerous ideas about where political power even comes from. And he starts with the most basic one of all, the idea that might makes right.
Rousseau's point here is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. He's basically saying that force is it's just physical power. Giving into it is just something you have to do, not something you choose to do. Like, if someone holds you at gunpoint, you're going to hand over your wallet, right? But that doesn't make the robber's claim to it right. So, if real authority isn't based on brute force, what is it based on? It has to be based on agreement, or as he calls them, conventions.
And that leads us straight to his really radical solution. See, if legitimate authority can only come from agreement, then we have to figure out what that agreement looks like. And that, right there, is the social contract.
Now, this is not just some simple promise. It is a complete transformation. Here's the deal. Every single person gives up themselves and all of their rights to the entire community. But in doing that, you're not giving yourself to any one person, you're giving yourself to everyone. And because everybody else is doing the exact same thing, you gain the same rights over them that they gain over you. It's a trade-off, a swap.
So let's break down this exchange. On one hand, we give up what Rousseau calls natural liberty. This is basically the raw, unfiltered freedom to do whatever you're strong enough to get away with. I mean, think about it. In a state of nature, your freedom also includes the freedom to get robbed at any moment. In return for giving that up, we get civil liberty, which is protected by the power of the whole community. We're trading that totally uncertain, kind of scary existence for a much more secure one. The key thing to get here is that while we lose the freedom to just take stuff from others, we gain real, protected liberty for ourselves and our property.
Okay, that all sounds pretty good, right? But what actually limits this new civil liberty? Rousseau's answer is probably his most famous, and let's be honest, his most difficult concept, the general will. And getting a handle on this is the key to unlocking his entire theory.
So the general will, it isn't just the sum of what everybody wants. No, it's the will that shows up when citizens stop thinking as just individuals and start thinking as members of the group. You can think of it as the political conscience of the community. And for Rousseau, this general will always, by its very definition, aims for the common good.
And Rousseau makes a really critical distinction here. He separates the general will from what he calls the will of all. Now, the will of all is easy. It's just the sum of everyone's private, often selfish desires. So imagine a town meeting about a new park. One person wants a skate park, another wants a quiet garden, and a third wants to sell the land to a developer. That's the will of all, just a messy pile of conflicting interests. The general will, on the other hand, is what's left when you cancel out all those pluses and minuses. It's the shared fundamental interest that everyone has in a safe, clean, and useful public space for the entire community. It's the common ground.
And this quote just nails it. It's Rousseau's genius in a nutshell. The common good isn't found by pretending we don't have private interests. It's found because of the conflict between them. It's in that push and pull of what everyone wants for themselves that a common ground appears. And that common ground, that shared interest we all have in the community surviving and thriving, that is the general will.
So this really powerful idea of a general will leads us straight to Rousseau's next huge conclusion, that the ultimate authority, what we call sovereignty, has to belong to the people and only the people.
Think of it this way. If the general will is the guiding principle of a just state, then sovereignty is just putting that will into action. It's the people acting together as one body, making the laws that they themselves will live by. And that, right there, is the only source of legitimate power.
And this sovereignty, according to Rousseau, has some very specific non-negotiable qualities. First, it's inalienable. That means the people can't just give their power away to a king or a parliament. It's theirs. Second, it's indivisible. You can't chop it up between different branches of government. The will is either general or it's not. And finally, it's absolute. Within the rules of the social contract, its power over its members is total because it's literally the power of everyone over everyone.
Now you have to understand, these were not just abstract philosophical ideas. Rousseau's book landed like a bombshell in 18th century Europe. And honestly, we're still feeling the shockwaves today.
I mean, you can draw a straight line from this book to actual revolution. Just a little over 25 years after it was published, the leaders of the French Revolution were quoting Rousseau chapter and verse. His work gave them the philosophical ammo they needed to overthrow a monarchy and build a republic based on the will of the people.
And ultimately, that's why this work is still so important. Every single time we argue about the balance between individual rights and the good of the community, or debate what the government should or shouldn't be doing, we are wrestling with the very same dilemmas that Rousseau laid out hundreds of years ago. It's just an essential read for understanding how we got to where we are in modern politics.
Which brings us to one last, really challenging question. Rousseau was convinced that the general will would always point us toward the common good. But in our incredibly complex modern societies, how do we even find it? Who gets to speak for the people? That's the question Rousseau left for us to answer, and we're still trying to figure it out.